The Tesla has failed me. 2-year-old Tesla, and the outside temperature sensor's gone. So my car is colder than your freezer, right?
So you're unlikely to get home.
Joking.
I'll be honest with you, right? I've never put clothes on to get in the car. And
The battery must be...
I'm spending more time messing about with the heat controls than I am looking where I'm going, right? I feel like I'm in survival mode. I feel like there's an apocalypse. And it's, how the hell do you warm up?
Southwest is like very much like work from home. It's mad because actually, like you said, it's like you'll get a candidate on the phone and they'll be like, oh, is it work from home because I need to pick the kids up? Because I've got a dog.
I says to her, like, can I just have a medium latte? And she goes, is that grande or venti? I'm like, what? I said, well, I thought grande was large in Italian or whatever. She's going, well, no, that's medium.
What?
And so venti is large and your grande is medium. I said, now we've worked out what it is, guess what? I'll have a medium.
Yeah.
Am I
Sure she could say it in Italian?
She wants me to say, which I'm going to refuse to say, I'll have a grande. So I'll have it off me fucking toes, thanks, and you can stick your £4.50. F*** you. I was off.
Did you leave it?
I just left it. I thought, I can't be dealing with that kind of nonsense.
The opinions expressed within this podcast are solely the individuals and do not reflect the opinions and beliefs of the sponsors or its affiliates.
So welcome back, guys. You know what I mean? We're here again. You know, What's the... you're obviously stressed, Mark. You've got the heat at full blast because you're defrosting. What's been happening with you?
I've got to tell you what's happening here, right? So the Tesla has failed me. 2-year-old Tesla, and the outside temperature sensor's gone. It's currently 46 degrees outside and has been all day, yeah. So as a consequence, it won't let me have any cabin heat at all. If anything, it thinks I'm trying to top myself and it's giving me the full chill experience. So my car is colder than your freezer, right?
So you're unlikely to get home.
Joking.
I'll be honest with you, right? I've never put clothes on to get in the car.
The battery must be...
Well, this is the thing. It's absolutely sinking the battery. The performance is affected as well because obviously it's not warming the battery in this weather as it should be. It's aircon in the battery. So the battery's now a lot colder than it should be. So I'm not getting the... It's a nightmare.
Can't you turn it off?
But John, can I tell you something?
Can you turn it?
I take it. I've tried that and it steams up, and then I'm still cold because it is actually cold outside. It's but the joy is I don't know whether it's just me, right? Even though I know I've got this problem and I've had it a few days, I've got to wait till next week for the engineer to come out, right? I don't know if it's like a personal thing. I get in the car and I think, oh bloody hell, right? And I start my journey. And the pissed off level goes and I get to a point where I'm freezing, right? I'm spending more time messing about with the fucking heat controls than I am looking where I'm going, right? And I feel like I'm in survival mode. I feel like there's an apocalypse. And it's, how the hell do you warm up? Do you know what I mean? Mate. I got to put my high-vis orange on just to get in the car. I took it off to come out.
Mate, I'll tell you what, that's Tesla's, isn't it, for you? Bloody hell.
It's too clever for its own good because any normal car, you could have a fault, but you can still twist the old...
I think you're making a bit of a meal of this, Mark. I mean...
I think just turn it off.
20, 30 years ago, what was your first car? Funny enough, on LinkedIn the other day, Reactive Rentals put a picture up and said, this was my first company car. Okay?
Oh, company car.
Yeah, and it was like, I don't know, an Escort Mark 1. Yeah, and everyone put down what they had got, in an old fashion. Now, my first car was, I think, the first vehicle I had given to me by work was an Escort van, Mark fucking 1, I think. And I'm telling you now, Mark, there was no aircon in that. There was no climate control. It was window down or window up. So, what are you on about? Seriously,
the point I'm making is the car is... It would be great if I could turn it off and it didn't steam up so I couldn't see where I'm going. But the car is...
Stop breathing then.
The car is defrosting me.
Oh, breathe to the side.
I do remember a funny story, right? Years ago, I remember one of the managers was moaning about... I was with a company and the company cars back then were 1.7 diesels, not turbo diesels, 1.7 litre diesel Astra Estates, right? And whenever he come into the depot at the end of the day, he looked dishevelled. He looked like he'd been standing on the Port of Dover in a bad storm, right? And, his hair was all over the place. He ain't got any now, but his hair at the time was all over the place. And we used to go, and he used to tell me, he goes, what I got to do before I go in to see a customer, I've got to do 2 junctions each way of the M20 to try and cool down the window undone, try and get the air on him, and then he can go for an appointment.
I just think you've become acclimatised to the comforts. You know.
What you said, I've gone soft. Is that where we are?
Yeah.
Is it steaming up because you're vaping as well? Are you vaping when you're driving?
Yeah.
It's not vape. It's not
Stop
vape,
vaping.
Steve.
It won't
It's not
steam
vape.
up.
Charlie, when you're dying, right?
Yeah.
When you're dying of frostbite, right? If all I got in my life is a little vape, right? That's what I got to do. You know what I mean? Some people clutch a teddy bear. Some people tell Tiny Tim they're not coming home this Christmas.
Yeah.
I got a vape.
Yeah.
There was a poor woman in the kitchen earlier, and she looked suicidal when I came in, and he must have been telling her this story.
I was, yeah.
For about 20 minutes, and she's like, "Yeah, great." Yeah.
You know, I'm like, everybody has to get the full update. Well, I feel sorry for the customers I'm speaking to for the rest of this week because they're going to get the full aircon update.
And they're going to put the podcast.
What about a person who can't afford that kind of vehicle and just has to ride their bicycle to work? Do you feel that they might be a little bit cold?
Well, because
I'm thinking about just get on with it, and you.
Yeah.
Because when you ride your bike, you're going to wear the clothing you need to ride the bike, right? In this weather, when you get in a car that's supposedly got heat.
Put a wetsuit on something.
I need to put something on. I don't know what. I need to stop by Snow and Rock on the way home and get
I'm
some.
sure they'll be able to fix it.
Get some ski gear.
You got
When
heated seat or like heated steering wheel?
Admittedly, I had the heated seat on, right? but I'm annihilating the battery.
How many miles away are you from here?
127.
127 miles.
127
Yeah.
miles.
I think you better book yourself a hotel somewhere.
Yeah,
You ain't getting off it.
with a hot bath.
Well,
and all the rest of it.
you're sitting in a service station. You'll ring me later. About 10 o'clock at night. I'm still out, you know. I'm still out.
Yeah, still freezing.
My hands are stuck to the steering wheel.
Frozen. I can't get out of my car.
I'm stuck in a garage somewhere, like on charge.
Yeah.
Never mind. Anyway, God, that's really more. That's
I thought that was,
if that's your all you got wrong in your life, you know.
I'm being abused by my car. That's what's wrong in my life at the moment.
What about you, Charlie? What's
Well, actually, I have a confession to make actually to Mark, because I said in the last podcast, I said that my washing machine was fine, and they didn't lie to me. And actually, since I found out that it bloody well lies.
I'm right enough. I told you, I'm on something.
It does. It actually lies. So it tells me 5 minutes, and then I go back in. Like 5 minutes later, it still says 5 minutes.
Yeah, but maybe it's telling you the minutes for that particular part
Maybe it's
of
saying
the
it's
programme.
5 minutes away from 5 minutes.
Yeah, but then why didn't it say 10 then?
I don't know, Mark.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So,
It's not your turn. It's Charlie's turn.
yeah.
So is that what you?
No, it's not. That's not what's doing my head in. What's doing my head in. So I had this lined up, but now our Mark's got abused from, sort of moaning about the old home comforts and of air conditioning.
Let it out, Charlie.
Mine is to do with electric vehicles, right?
Right, here we go.
Electric vehicle charging.
Right.
So, you think, get an electric vehicle, obviously save a bit on tax. So one thing actually, apparently, news update is that you're going to have to pay tax as well on your electric vehicle now as of like April. So it's like 200 quid for the year.
the road fund.
Yeah, so that's a news update there. But second thing is, so I went to, I'm bringing in Milton Keynes again, the story. I sound like I've got a vendetta against Milton Keynes, but I went to Milton Keynes the other day to go and charge a car up, right? So I was driving there and I thought, I'll have enough charge to get there and then I'll charge my car up whilst I'm at Milton Keynes, right? So then I go and plug the cable in, can't charge it. The bloody charger don't work at all. So that's one thing. I try and get it on the app. I try and get it on like a card as well. You have like a charging card, don't you? So I try and put that in. Doesn't work, yeah? And then I think, right, okay, so I'll have to just, sort of leave it and then I'll charge it tomorrow. So then I'll go to Wellingborough then the next day, go and charge it at Wellingborough. It doesn't work, right? And then, literally like 2 months ago, and this, by the way, like I've had a home charging point, right? But that was the last house I was living at, and now obviously I've moved into my place. I've not got a home charging point yet.
That was like a year ago, Charlie.
Yeah,
I
know.
moved in a year ago.
Yeah, so I need to
can
get
I say
one,
that
clearly.
doesn't sound like it's the car's problem, but more the charging point's problem.
It is the charging points, right? So then also, like a few months back, I then go to Brighton as well, see my mate down there, and then I'm also trying to find a place to charge at. So I go to one place, right? Not sure, not clearly labelled, right? So it doesn't say whether you can charge it for free or whether you're going to get a ticket, because Brighton's, like, if you've ever been down there, it's like horrible for parking tickets. So I'm like thinking that, I'm parking in like this place down the side of the street, and I'm thinking, I'll charge my car up, but there's no sign to say that anyone can just go and charge a car there. It's almost like, just you probably have to have a permit or something like that. So then I go to another point, there's no word of a lie, about 14 chargers all lined up in this multi-storey car park, and only one works, and it's being used. Right, so I couldn't charge there, and then I think I found a charger in the end. But I just can't believe how they're like trying to roll out all these electric cars, and obviously like the very few times I've actually charged outside of a house, I can't charge.
Do you know what, I've heard people say this, right? Admittedly, I think I've only ever, and I've had the car over 2 years now. Obviously, I use the Tesla chargers. I haven't used any others. Admittedly, I've only ever had one Tesla charger, and it wasn't that it didn't work. It was, for some reason, the particular charger was stuck at 21 kilowatts or whatever it is. So it was particularly slow, but it was working. But I've never found any that actually don't work.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you should get a Tesla if you want to charge your car, but not if you want climate control.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can get a full charge.
Holiday Inn are putting loads of those in. Their car park's now full of them. So if you ever get caught short, try and find a Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
They've got they've done loads of work. Everywhere I go now, they seem to have put like banks and banks of Tesla charges or chargers in there.
I think generally on the motorways, it's not too bad. So if you're travelling motorways, then it's probably not a bad thing. But if you're like, I hardly go on motorways, like I don't need to, like it's just around here. So it's like all the there's so many chargers floating about.
Get a charger here.
I know.
Or
I should do.
At home.
Yeah, I need to get one at home.
Why have you not got one here?
But you're worried about tax and all that. You're £200. Like, let me just take this away from you, so you know for the future.
Yeah.
Don't stress yourself out.
Yeah.
So what happens to the government tax? Where do you think all that duty from diesel and petrol is going to go when everyone drives electric?
Well, they're going to do what they did with diesel. We're going to start lumping it on electric.
What they're going to do is every car now is technically pretty much like your phone. We can see exactly where you've gone and how long you've gone. So everything's got a tracker on it anyway. You're going to be taxed by the miles you do.
That's what I've heard. Didn't they trial it in Birmingham?
There'll be a duty. That will either come under the car tax band, or it will come under a separate band that says, well, you've done that miles. You pay your £200 for your car tax, and then the rest of it's on the amount of miles you drive up and down.
What if you've got an older car and you don't have like a tracker in it? Will they just
but in the future, I'm just talking about in the future. That's the only way they're going to do it, because taxing fuel, for example, is one of the biggest incomes for the government.
It is, yeah,
so they're going to have to replicate that around the globe if they want to go electric. So to think that everyone's going to go electric and you think, I ain't got to pay no duty on, but you're going to be paying your charge, whatever you're paying at the moment to charge the ficking thing up, and then you're also going to be paying a mileage charge, so they can get a little bit of that off you as well.
But like, what's the incentive now? Like, if they're putting tax on and everything like that, I know like even businesses will be able to sort of benefit from tax, obviously with electric cars. But what you're probably losing in like efficiency of having like member of the team having to charge your car for 45 minutes somewhere is like gonna sort of outweigh the
world is mad, Charlie. The world is mad. Look at what's going on in America at the moment, where you've got Musk who's looking after Trump's little one of it now. But when you actually listen to what he's actually doing, and he's looking into government spend externally, it's amazing how much money wasted, isn't it, that we pay and we're wasting that. And you telling me that if we had one of those, if he came over here, or we put someone else in charge to look and do the audit in the government at the moment, it wouldn't be the same thing. They wouldn't say the same thing. So they're all trying to blinker you with the fact that. And I've got an opinion about it, by the way, so I don't want people like slating me because they think I'm like right wing. You know, but I haven't got an opinion about Musk doing a job or not doing a job. Don't bother me at all. But the fact is that no one can answer the questions about the amount of wastage and money is ridiculous. What's being spent in billions of pounds to foreign aid that's got nothing to do with anything and nothing to do with America. Now we're exactly the same. With if you listen to the news, you know the pensioners aren't getting theirs, but we're still throwing out money out left, right, and centre to these different schemes around the world.
I heard the other week that
it is the way it is.
Might be going off on a tangent, but I heard the other week that there's an island that Mauritius used to own.
That's right, yeah.
And we now occupy it as like a military base, and now I think the government are now basically going to hand it back to Mauritius for whatever reason, and pay them, I think it's 18 billion.
Something like that.
Yeah,
18 billion.
And that's right, just to build their infrastructure and annual payments.
Yeah, that's to give the island back.
Yeah.
Like, I know that there's a contract, like I think there was a 99-year contract, I was looking into it, and to have this military base. But it's almost like that comes to the same amount. Like, you might as well keep the island and pay them that 18 billion over the 99 years that actually we've got it.
And then meanwhile, you can't get a charger point because there ain't enough in the country. Or, you can't get to see your doctor.
Yeah.
I mean, I see a guy talk about this the other day, and he said if he got to see his doctor, he thought he might get like starstruck because it's been 2 years since he's been able to see him. You know, so when he gets in there, he's like, I can't believe it. It's actually you.
Yeah.
You know, please sign my prescription for me. You know what I mean?
And the 98 I've got back there. Yeah.
So, well, I was...
Just doing your head in, mate.
I was having a bit of a break, and I thought there's nothing really doing me in. You know, I was like, what am I going to come to the table with? Because, you know, I've been travelling around in January and like having some good fun and all that. And then I went to the hire show, you know, the high executive shows on this week. Saw all the old friends, you know, as you do. You get walk around and see all the suppliers and people there. And I thought I'd go and get a coffee somewhere. I've found this little coffee place. And I says to her, like, can I just have a medium latte? You know, I wasn't asking for one of them flipper chino type of things, you know, one of them stupid things.
Caramel mocha latte or whatever, yeah.
Some of the, whatever that is,
yeah.
You know, striping me up for £4.50 anyway for this medium. I says to her, can I have a medium latte? And she goes, is that grande or venti? I'm like, what? I said, well, I thought grande was large in Italian or whatever. She's going, well, no, that's medium.
What?
So I said, well, now we've worked out, and so venti is large and your grande is medium. I said, now we've worked out what it is, guess what? I'll have a medium. She goes, no, what one are you having? Am I...
Sure she was saying in Italian?
She wants me to say, which I'm going to refuse to say, I'll have a grande. So I'll have it off me fucking toast, thanks, and you can stick your £4.50. Fuck you. I was off.
Was you? Did you leave it?
I just left it. I thought I can't be dealing with that kind of nonsense. So you told me what the medium and the large is. So I've said in English, I'll have the medium. So you told me now that a grande in your shop is a medium. So we've worked it out, haven't we?
Yeah.
But no, she weren't having it. She weren't having it. You had to walk that way. You had to talk in the way that they wanted to talk. Absolutely dumb.
Otherwise you don't get your... Yeah.
Was there a queue behind you?
The queue's out of the shop. They're all going, shit. Most of them on Google Translate, trying to work out what fucking Google is.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll have one of them.
I don't want to mention the coffee shop and their nonsense, Starbucks. But do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Absolutely, come on. There's a queue out at the shop. It should be straight in. And I felt like the way she looked at me as well when I said I'll have a medium latte, as if I'd come off the moon, as if like, that's not acceptable. Or maybe, the roll of her eyes was maybe because I'm a 53-year-old man, that's what we'd only have. We wouldn't go to a caramel or fucking, what's the other milk,
cappuccino
plant milk or almond milk and all that. Just because I just want to go in there and have a coffee. Can I just have a white coffee But there's no such thing as a white coffee, is there?
No, but this is what does my head in, right? And I saw a chart and it said, it's probably for people like you and me. It said white coffee, blah blah blah, black coffee, blah blah blah. You know, a latte is that, and it's like a decode thing.
Yeah. White coffee is a coffee with white milk.
Yeah.
A latte is a coffee with more milk. I've seen that sign.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's
Yeah,
helping it out.
yeah.
But like, you know.
But
You guys are
but
showing
why
your
have you
age
got
now,
why have you
so
got to say
definitely
these?
showing your age, I reckon.
Yeah, but you know,
I'd just be like, order a bloody medium, for God's sake. Order a grande.
But I know what you're saying though, because I've been to the counter, and I think the worst thing is if you're talking to a client, and I've been to a client, I said, what do you want, mate? And he said, I'll have a white coffee, and I think, I'll have the same, right? And you get there, and we're in the middle of a conversation, like I don't know, about a site, about a machine, and I'm going blah blah blah, and she goes, oh yes please, and I go, oh yeah, I'll have 2 white coffees please, and I go, yeah, and before I can. I've got half a word out my mouth. She's going, same as that. Is that a grande, venti, maxo? And you think...
But I don't want to be disrespectful to the people who are working in establishments, because there's some really clever people, and they're not all like that. But I've had a similar thing. I had it in the airport, funny enough, Belfast Airport. Maybe it's my accent. Yeah, and I was trying to be a little bit funny. So the guy in front of me was called Mark as well, and he said, Mark with a C. So I didn't even think about it. And I went, maybe she was taking a piss out of me, but I said, yeah, what's your name? I said, Mark, with a K. And the coffee came out, and they were shouting, Kark. And she'd written K-A-R-K on the cap.
Mark with a C.
Well,
with a K. Okay, yeah. Oh my God.
Do you know what I mean? What's all that about?
Yeah, I don't...
But, you know, so I was chilled. You know, I'd been to France, seen me mate Ricky Ellum, friend of the pod. You know, we'd been there, we'd done all that, and I had a good month. And as I said on the last pod, you know, we had a good weekend over there, week over there. And I come back and get back into the mix of it, and it might be, I don't know, maybe I've got a different mentality when I'm working that I'll probably rub people up. I don't know, but what's a shower?
I can't. Don't you?
What's an absolute shower?
Don't the questions do your head in? Because they do my head in. Like in that example I just said, you go blah blah blah, and they go, what size? And you go medium, right? And then you go, do you want to shop with that? The extra shot? No, I don't want an extra shot, right? You know.
What's your name?
The other thing,
Yeah.
Mark, the other thing that happened, and I've kind of forgot about this until you've just said that. I said, she goes, are you eating in or taking away? Or drinking in or taking away? I said, in, but can I have it in a takeaway cup, please?
I like that as well. Yeah.
Because I don't want one of your monkey
Big
old
China thing. Yeah.
things.
It's like a soup bowl.
And it was like, but so you're not taking it away? No, I'm not taking it away. No, I'm you know, I'm in the. You can see why I've walked out. You can see I just gave it up. I just thought, I'm not winning this battle. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like dead people. They don't know they're dead, do they? Everyone else knows they're dead. And it's the same with stupid people, isn't it? Stupid people don't know they're stupid, but everyone else does.
yeah.
So anyway, look, someone wrote in. I thought we could kick off on what we were going to talk about today, and they talked about. They wrote in, and then something, and I put it to the back burner. We'll talk about that one day, and then something happened to me. I got a guy that approached me with a background on LinkedIn, and he's looking for a role in the business, an operational role. I thought, yeah, it's good. Like, and I should have looked at one major thing: is what country he worked in. And it turns out he works in Australia. And he's approached me to start a position. And then when I've said, sorry, mate, I think you got this wrong, you're in Australia, he said, well, what kind of company are you? You know, the modern world is to be able to work from home. In the construction industry, you know, or the plant hire business that we are, from Australia, believed that he could take, and then maybe it's possible that he could take the call and deal with the engineers. I'm saying he could, but I can't just imagine him sitting in the outback somewhere, you know.
G'day, mate.
G'day, yeah. giving it that, and then calling our engineers. And perhaps, mate, I said, and he didn't like the fact that I said, Well, you know that would make it a night job. You know, you'd be working nights. And he didn't get there.
Yeah, because we're...
Yeah,
because
and
of
I
the
don't
time
understand why he
difference.
didn't get there. And he goes, well... And I just thought, well, it's time to bring it forward and ask your opinions about hybrid working, considering also we've had Trump, we talked about him earlier, just cancelling everyone out. They've got to come to work. If you're not in the office, you're not getting paid. And there's been a big movement in the construction industry for that. There's a couple of major contractors that have said, you're either in or you're not. That's it.
Yeah.
And it might be driven. I think that's a good thing, personally, especially London. I mean, if you go to London, that's kind of dead, isn't it? I wouldn't want to own a coffee shop in London, be it a Grande or a Venti. You know?
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't want to, because I think they don't get the footfall as what they were getting.
I think there's as many arguments for working at home as there are against. Like, just putting a few
So
things
you're
on
going
the
to sit on the fence here, Mark?
Well, I don't know which way to
Hopefully
go
by the end of
because
your- go on then, tell us.
right. So if you, I'm thinking of people with young kids. Yeah,
Yeah.
you've got the school run and all that kind of stuff, or you got you know kids being ill. Then you got the carbon footprint side of things. Companies are trying to drive down a carbon footprint. They're pushing it onto staff as well. Cycle to work. We haven't got a cycle to work if you're working from home, right? So there's that side of thing. Then on the flip side, and these are just a few things, on the flip side, you've got the mental health aspect. There is a challenge if you're working. I've got a friend actually who's a programmer, you've met him, Ben. Ben, the programmer, works at home all day, every day, and has done actually way before COVID. And yeah, I worry about how, because we've had conversations about how it's been so long. He virtually sees his boss. His boss is in America, by the way, going back to your comment about the guy in Australia. His boss is in America, so he has these teams and virtual meetings with his boss.
So a mental health issue there, him sitting alone, he
Yeah.
probably don't go out.
No, that is exactly it. He doesn't, and that's what he said. He said, he rings me up, can we meet up soon? Of course we can. He says, I haven't actually spoke to a human being face to face for a few weeks. And I think, wow, like, that's not good, is it? So that there's a mental health issue. And then, of course, you've got from an employer perspective, what's the outcome? Like, what are you really working? Are you really producing? Are you really doing your job? Because surely, is there a temptation to mow the lawn in the summer? Is there a temptation to put a wash load on? What about the school run I mentioned earlier? You're not working then technically, are you? Doing the school run. So you've got the output, the quality of the output.
Well, I was in, I mean, London's probably a bad example, but I was in London and we were doing some shopping, and there was so many people there, and it was in the middle of the week. Yeah, so I'm having that time off. It's in the middle of the week, and I'm thinking, these ain't all toys, you know. And is that an argument as well that's why? Because they're meant to be working from home, but they're actually out shopping and having it off, you know.
I've noticed a big change from when I was repping in my early 20s. As soon as it clocked 9 o'clock, there was few vehicles on the road.
Yeah.
Right, and I, almost felt like Lone Ranger out there. But now, in contrast, I could go from any site to another site now, and it would be maxed out. I decided to take an early lunch, 11 o'clock, or even a late lunch, 3 o'clock. The car park will be full. Don't matter what time I go there. And I think might have said to you before, but I've said to some of my colleagues and friends, if I'm on the phone, I go, where do any of these people go to work?
But do you think, because you kind of ask, I'm sure you're getting the question, of how many times can I work at home? How do you,
It's hard. I mean, it's interesting actually, because I've found a pattern in like different parts of the country and for different job roles. Obviously, because there's some roles where you couldn't work from
You've
home.
actually managed to find something.
But I think, what's that?
You've actually found a pattern.
Yeah,
I'm really excited about this. Yeah, go on.
So what I've noticed, and hopefully I don't annoy anyone by saying this, but like the Southwest is like very much like work from home, like for some of the roles at least that I've been working on. Yeah, so I just get it all the time, and it's mad because actually, like you said, it's like you'll get a candidate on the phone and they'll be like, "Oh, is it work from home because I need to pick the kids up, because I've got a dog, because of X, Y, and Z," and it's like, I guess that is the reason for working from home, right? And having that flexibility as an employer, you can obviously give your employees that flexibility, which is, is a nice thing. But it does make you question, well, how much work are you sort of doing whilst you're going and picking the kids up, whilst you're looking after your dog, whilst you're, basically, babysitting your kids or whatever. And I think that, like you say, there's such a mix of opinions, and I think it's a lovely perk for some businesses that are able to do it. And I think fair play. And I think that, if you're an employee that really values that, then I think fair play as well, and that might be, what you need to do to keep the bills, going through and keep food on the table. Childcare is expensive, and obviously getting someone, after school clubs, things like that, they all cost a lot of money. So having those perks are, huge for some people, life changing probably. But then from the other side of things, there is definitely companies out there that have struggled, obviously bringing people back into their business, that have allowed people to work from home. And I think it needs to sort of, the bottom line is that if the business is, if they have a requirement for someone to be in the office and they see a reason for that to be the case, and, for productivity reasons, for, relationships with other employees reasons, I think that ultimately if they're the ones paying the wage, then, they should be entitled to bring people into the office. And if that employee doesn't like it, then it might just be time to move on and find another job elsewhere, that might be the case, so
I think I'm going to be a bit controversial.
Go on.
So you used to be able to get grants. This is one point. So there's a few points I want to try and make. So the first one is you used to be able to get grants from the council. I used to work with the council as an employee of that particular region as a major employer. So if I'm a major employer here, I could get little benefits and bits and pieces. There might be some training grants and bits and pieces like that. But that was a fair trade, because I was bringing people into that area. So let's say one example, I used to do quite a bit of work years and years ago with Enfield Council. So they would get the benefit because my people were going to the shops in Enfield at lunchtime, and they were doing this and they were spending their money. So the economy was benefiting from that, the local economy. But now I could employ 100 people and none of them be in Enfield, apart from the fact that I've got a post box there and I might turn up. And everyone's round the country or the globe. And they're only feeding back into where they live. So it's really hard to judge that type of thing. So when people are looking at awarding funding for different bits and local enterprise schemes that are ordered, what are they actually, so if I'm now a taxpayer in here, in sunny Wellingborough, and there's some training grants available, but it's going out to somebody and they do their training in Yorkshire because they work in bloody Yorkshire, or and that training school gets that. But I'm happy as a business because that person's getting the training I want. But the local Wellingborough training company isn't, and surely the local economy isn't doing that. You've seen that with the amount of coffee shops and there's not enough people working in these environments now. And I understand as a business, like, don't get me wrong, if I've got a massive building, it's costing me £1 million a year, I don't need that spend anymore. But who's that benefiting? That's just benefiting my bottom line. I'm not employing any more people, am I? I'm just saving a few pounds. And the biggest thing for me is the culture. You can't have a cultural discussion on Teams, I'm sorry. You can have a conversation, and some people have input and some people don't. And, what I can show you on Teams, I mean, it is that scene from the Muppets, isn't it? Where they used to have the bridge. It is that. And I'll keep on going back to that, I know, but it is that. It's that, because there's so many people sometimes on that meeting that you don't know what they're doing and what, who's... And it's very easy to hide on that kind of team meeting, isn't it?
Yeah, because you can turn your camera off, mute your mic. For all I know, while someone's giving a presentation, someone else could be doing their ironing. Yeah, I don't know what you're doing, do I?
No. Well, let me just say, my mate, my mate was doing his speed awareness course and watching the poker over the top.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking...
That says it all, doesn't it?
It really does.
But generally, it's not about him getting away with what and not getting away with it. It was the fact that it was a team's kind of meeting. Now,
But if the poker was good,
the poker was good, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Well,
Yeah, you
told
may
me,
have
I don't
said-
know
you
what
may
it
have
is.
said.
So
Yeah.
I heard it was a good tournament. But the point being is that, and I think that's the, you know, we know more than anyone that have worked for different construction companies. They turn around and say to your plant owners, "Oh, the culture there's not so good." Or, you know. Oh, if you work for Speedy, this is that. If you work for A Plant, this is that. If you work for like a smaller one-man band business, it's a different type of feel. But if you're sitting at home, it don't really matter, does it? Because you don't really get involved in that kind of that culture.
But equally, if it's a good culture, you're not benefiting from that.
Yeah.
Are you?
No, you're not. And how do you? How as an employer then do you recognise the talent that you've got in your team and be able to promote or say that person would be a good thing? It's just all about stats and if that's the case, it's about what they're doing on stats and what they come across like or what they report like. So I may as well not interview anyone really. I may as well take someone on based on their CV because that's all I'm going to see them on. I may as well just read their CV.
Yeah.
What's the point of having the interview if I'm never going to see them again? Surely I'm trying to interview them to try and see if they fit into our culture. And I'm big on that culture and those learning styles. So I want to, know that I'm employing you because you fit into our culture. But if you're not there,
yeah.
But
What's the point?
you'll never ever recognise skill sets above and beyond their job role. So, for example, and you've hit the nail on the head. If someone's at home and let's say they're doing the job that you've asked them to do.
Yeah.
In fact, let's say they're doing it well. You've never had any complaints, and the data you require, you're getting when you require it. Yeah. But when something happens, like the business grows or evolves, and a new role comes up, and you're thinking to yourself, who out of my team would be the best one to promote into that role? You then start thinking, okay, well, out of my team, what skill set have I witnessed? What skill set? Who goes above and beyond? Who's quite good at the numbers, or who's quite good at engaging with the rest of the staff, or who's a bit of a natural leader? Right? You don't know any of those traits if they're at home on teams.
No.
But a funny story. I'll give you a funny story. I met up with a buyer for a demolition company. Yeah, this is probably about 2 years ago. I met up with a buyer. How's it going, mate? He said, "Oh, don't." I went, "Oh, what do you mean?" He said, I'm trying to interview for an assistant buyer, right? Someone to help me because we've got a lot of live sites, we've got a lot of our own equipment, we hire a lot, materials on and off, everything else. I need some help. I went, "Oh, that's good, yeah." He said, "I've interviewed loads of people." He said, what we want to do is get a young person in, right? So we can train them up, bring them into the game, tell them what demolition's all about and get them started and get them buying and all that good stuff. I said, "That sounds great, Lee." He said, "Trouble is," he goes, the amount of people that have come on saying, "Oh, is that I see you got a job advertised, is that a work from home one?" And he said, "No." And they go, "Oh, yeah, no, thanks very much," right? He's like, "What?" Right? Then he said, I got one guy, one young guy who was interested. I actually ended up getting this guy in for an interview, face to face, right? So he says, "Where do you live, blah, 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 what do you do at school or college, blah, blah, blah." Does the whole job thing with him. The guy's really interested. He says to him at the end, he said, "Have you got any questions?" And the usual, you expect the usual stuff, didn't you? What's the pension?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. He said to this guy, goes, "Any chance I could do this at home?" And he went, "No, mate, it's a role that you need to be here to. You're not going to learn the business at home with the greatest respect, yeah." And the guy goes, "Oh, right. Any chance Thursday and Friday could be at home then?" So he said, "No, the job is in the office learning with me."
Yeah.
He said, "I've got to ask you, why is it? Why do you want to be at home?" So the guy says, and this says it all. The guy says, "I've got a few things to do on Friday, you see." Well, no, you're supposed to be working. So basically, he's basically saying, if I took the job and you did let me work from home on a Friday, whatever that is, I've got a few things to do, right?
I'd have had to say to him, "Look,
he didn't get the job, by the way.
on the way out, get yourself a venti or a Liverende on the way out, just do one."
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But my point is, and he's still looking for the system, by the way, that's the calibre of people because you mentioned it, didn't you? They want to work from home now.
Isn't it a generation thing though, mate? It must be. It must be like, it can't have just been because of COVID and everyone just shut down. But surely everyone sees how wonderful it is to make money now on social media and everything else. You don't really have to do much. You know, no disrespect, man. You know, but you know, it's that kind of lifestyle, isn't it? You know, where people think it's great. You know, I'm watching a program at the moment. I mean, how they get away with this? Only in Dubai. I don't know if you've seen it.
What's it called?
They're estate agents in Dubai.
Oh, selling bling or sunset or whatever it is, but Dubai, yeah.
Now, it's one of the better ones because they don't bitch at each other. You know, you see them programs and they're bitching at each other.
Oh, yeah,
it's more about the girl than it is about the property. And all I want to do is see this wonderful property.
Yeah.
Well, in Dubai, they've got one and it's commission only sales, by the way. You know, commission only. And it's like, that's where people are just, I don't know, the mentality is, it's just a different generation, isn't it? They think it's going to be fantastically easy because it's how it's sold to them, and maybe we're in an industry that, you know, there is people that are working from home now. How many procurement people do you know that actually on major projects, you can't go and see them since COVID, can you? They're at home in the bedroom or wherever they're doing. You're thinking, I don't know. Personally, I just think it doesn't. I know that the role has to suit it, you know, and sometimes salespeople, you know, especially, they need to be able to work from an office type of thing, but there might not be an office near them, so they need to be in, you know, do a Friday or something, or Monday at home.
There's a lot of roles that you know suit it, and it's fine. I've got a friend that works from home predominantly. He works for actually I won't say, but like a large supermarket, and he works from home doing like a lot of the data and stuff like that. And you know, he works hard. He does, you know, he graphs, and I think that, you know, it does work for him. And interestingly, he has got, you know, promoted and things like that. But it's because that was one of my points as well, to say that actually you sort of end up having people that are coming into work probably getting exposed to more opportunities internally than people staying at home. But, you know, maybe that people working from home should be aware of that as well. But yeah, so there are instances where it works. I've got a family member as well that works from home almost all the time. But to me, that's a little bit sad, because it's almost like, you know, he has meetings on meetings and meetings. He's actually in the construction industry, and literally his whole day is just full of Teams meetings. And, you know, it actually in one sense might be really efficient, because these people might be dotted around in different offices across the country. But in another way, it might be really inefficient, because when you're having meetings about meetings, it's, you know, potentially too much. And it must be so isolating really for them. You know, they've been doing it since COVID. You know, might have the odd trip to London, you know, once every couple of weeks, or if that really. But, you know, for some people, like you say, like the mental health aspect of it, it can't be that good for people to, you know, not be getting out there and, you know, socialising or whatever, or, you know, going to see people in the flesh.
How do you motivate yourself sometimes? I mean,
Well,
what your mate
that's
does,
the thing. I think
that must be really hard.
He does really well. He's great at what he does, and he does motivate himself. But I think you're right. There are challenges around that. There are real challenges around that.
Why not change the ridiculous notion of where we are in the UK into what the Swedish were trying to do in an experiment? It works really well, you know, where, you know, forget about, I know someone's mentioning a 4-day week at the moment. Bullshit, by the way. You know, just ridiculous notion. Is another Labour policy. They used to have the 3-day before you got it. You know, in the 70s it was a 3-day week, and then everyone still worked 5, but they got time and a half and everything else. It's just ridiculous. But the 6-hour day, you know, we're in this industry. We do 12 hours a day. We think that we're doing 12 hours worth of work, or the people that work for us are doing 12 hours of work. They're not. You know, they're on Facebook for some of the time. They're going to lunch, which they're entitled to do. They're talking on the phone to their mate or their mum or whatever. You know, they're having a flick on the internet, you know, when no one's looking, you know. They're buying whatever they're doing, you know, on Amazon. So when you look at it realistically, I believe, and the data shows you, that you can probably do 6 hours a day solid, get in and do it. So the Swedish done the answer where they tried this out, and certain companies' productivity went. It's a bit like the old-fashioned job and knock when we used to work in the industry. It was like on the tools that, you know, if it was a particularly shit job and we were behind, a good foreman would turn around and say, right, we're going to do this today, boys. We're going to come in and paint this room. Job and knock, done. As soon as you're done, you can fuck off. But we've got to get that done. and get the thing back on, you know. And everyone would crash out and work really hard. They wouldn't take their lunch. They would do it. And you're getting 6 hours productive work. So why keep someone there for 10 or 12 hours? Because you think you're getting value for buck. And I'm not suggesting people get 6 hours money, but they perhaps get their full pay, but they do 6 hours. That lifestyle means you can go and walk the dog and you can get home early and go to the gym and stuff like that.
I agree with that.
A different way of
no,
working?
that's a brilliant way. Studies show. I read a really good book. It was a bit of a whopper. Read a really good book a few weeks ago called Why We Sleep, right? And it talks about actually a lot of how the brain works and what sleep does and blah blah blah. But you've hit the nail on the head. It actually says that regardless of whether you think you need X amount of sleep or not, you need 8 to 9 hours of sleep, right? More often 9 than 8, right? But it goes on to explain how your brain works and stuff like that. We're not designed to do 12 hours of labour, 12 hours of work. And if you think, and this is where it gets dangerous, because you look at the medical, say, industry that doctors do 12 hours. If you're doing 12 hours, let's assume the average commute is an hour each way, yeah? So that means the guy's done 14 hours up, right? So what remains, he's got to have his dinner. You've got to have a de-chill, de-stress time. Some people read a book, some people watch TV, blah, 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 whatever they do. Some want to spend time with the family, walk the dog. In the hours that remain, you've got to sleep, walk the dog, sort the kids out, sort your uniform out for tomorrow, whatever you're going to do. And then when you come back to work the following day, if you haven't had the right sleep, which you obviously haven't if you're doing 12 hours a day, you're not retaining information. Your motor functions are actually impaired, right? And this goes on and on and on. And you get to a point, and I can't remember how many days it says, somebody that hasn't slept for X amount of days has got the same qualities as someone that's 3 times over the drink drive limit.
Well, it's like I've been on the tools, you know, and I've been on construction sites in my life, working on as I'm physically. I'm telling you now, you might be getting paid 10 hours, but that person is not doing 10 hours. You know, we have the crack. We talked about having the crack on site. You know, there's all these different factors. And some days, yes, you do a full. You have to, you know, you do that full day. But throughout the week and throughout the month, it'd be interesting to see what actual productivity you actually get from people. So then, why just it just makes people feel better that we're getting 10 hours out of you. You know, we're paying you £100 a day, and I'm getting me £100 because you know I'm getting 10 times 10 there. You know, but realistically, I'm not. I'm only probably getting six hours of productivity. The other 4 hours I'm paying you just for fun. So, you know, perhaps there needs to be a change. I mean, people, you know, Steve Kerslake was on talking about the mental health and having time off. He said, you know, what would you do to change it? He said, give everyone Wednesday off to play rugby, which is a, you know, tongue-in-cheek way of basically saying that, you know, we need to do something differently.
Well, I spoke to a guy from Speedy the other day, and he was telling me they got a new thing now where they do. You get half a day a fortnight.
That's a day.
Oh, is it a day?
It's a day a month. Sorry. So this is unbelievable. Every 9 days you work, you get a 10-day off.
That's right. That's it. Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head.
And if you talk to anyone in management there, it's an absolute carnage. So imagine every 9 days you ain't got a driver because he's having his day off. So he's basically they're trying to keep their salary down, I suppose. You know, so. Not competing with the rest of them who are paying big money, but they're offering you a carrot to say you get an extra month basically off a year.
Wow.
So you're working 10 months instead of and getting paid for 12. Now, operationally, I can see that being an issue, but for mental health, maybe that's a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah, well, he said, so one of the guys was telling me that they've done a gig where they don't necessarily want the whole day off, but can we, you know, maybe we could pack it in at 12 o'clock on a Friday, and then so you get half a day, then the following week half a day. And he said, you know what, that really works. That really works. Apparently a few of them do that, and he says, look, I get a bit of time for myself, you know, I've got a few hobbies that I don't get a chance to do with the kids and everything else. One of the guys plays golf. He said, you know what? I never get a chance to play the golf. Got young kids, got a missus who works as well. I work, blah, blah, blah. He said, for the first time ever, I can finish at 12 o'clock. I can go and play 9 holes of golf.
Yeah, so it's a good thing for that person getting it.
Yeah.
But you'd never be able to reverse that, would you?
No.
Unless you've given it away.
So he says, I play 9 holes of golf, then I can go and then I'm with the kids and the family, but I would normally be at work.
Yeah.
So the time is not missing, because in the summer, he said, I play 9 holes of golf after work, then I'm late, the kids have gone to bed, the missus have been on her own, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's the knock-on effect, isn't it? You know, if a business can do it, if they can afford to do it, and they're set up well enough to do it, then, you know, and they can get, you know, good productivity out of their team, you know, whilst doing it. I think that, you know, why wouldn't you? You know,
well, we've been in the industry. This is what I'd say for you. Surely it's quite easy for your business because I'm saying nothing's easy, but bear with me. You've got X amount of projects you've got to deliver, and that person, if he delivered them all in one day, for example, in theory, he could have the rest of the week off, no?
I mean, it's interesting you say it because, you know, there is a lot of, decisions that I've been making recently about these sorts of things. And I think that people do value, you know, time off. Yeah. And actually, if that is put across in a way that can incentivize people to do well as well, you know, then obviously it's a win-win, right? So, you know, if someone's performing out their skin, they could potentially afford to take that time off, and so could the business. So it's little things like that actually, you know, we could find a way to make that work by, you know, sort of rewarding people if they're performing well. You know, and there's going to be a lot of people out there that will argue, you know, that, you know, it should just be a, you know, basic human right or anything like that, you know, to have, you know, time off that you want. But, you know, unfortunately, you know, as a small business, you know, we have to make sure that, you know, our business is operating, you know, well. And I think that in recruitment especially, there's a hell of a lot to be said for networking in the office. So like speaking to the team, you know, there's candidates that come through and it's like, you know, this one could be good for your job, or this one could be good for my job, or whatever. And that goes, you know, so far like that goes a long way, you know, having that happen in the office. And there's a lot to be said for that. But, we did do a period of working from home, you know, during COVID, and I wouldn't say it sort of was, you know, a car crash. You know, it ultimately it worked okay, but obviously it was different times then as well. You know, it was almost like survival mode. You know, you had to sort of, you know, make it happen. So yeah, I mean, I think if you're set up correctly, you know, it is a possibility. And like I say, there are certain incentives that I'm bringing into place, certainly within the business, that will allow people to be able to do that. Yeah, so. If we can, like I say, we will try. And I think that's what it comes down to. If a business can afford to do that and they can make it work well, then, you know, why shouldn't they? I know that there's like so many, you know, a lot of the roles that, say, we've worked on before that are like hybrid working, they'd be like the accountants of this world, the marketers of this world, and, you know, anyone that's in tech as well. You know, not that we recruit too much for tech, but obviously there are like sort of rental tech companies that would use us as well. So
all the boring people.
Yeah.
we don't want you in the office.
Yeah.
Encourage them to work from home.
We had a few pods ago. We had his story about the tech, didn't we? Your app issues.
Oh,
didn't we?
mate, I tell you what,
yeah, I mean,
that's my bloody head.
But yeah, look, it's an interesting subject. I don't know what the answer is, but it's something that seems to be expected, you know, at the moment, doesn't it? People are asking for it, but then it's interesting just to see the wave of companies changing how they're dealing with that now and saying no, we don't want that. We want you to come in. And at the end of the day, some people have signed up to 10-year leases on their building, and they're not being used. You know,
I know one business that they had all of their team. You know, sort of. I think they rotated. You know, the working from home. So I think they got everyone working from home during COVID, and then when they started bringing people back, they got a lot of resistance. And then I think they started to rotate it, and then they literally just, you know, stopped it, and they just said, right, like you say, you're either in or you're out. But I do find as well that the hire industry, we're actually, you know, I don't know whether it's that, you know, it's difficult to do working from home in the hire industry, in some of the roles that we're working with. Because obviously you've got like mobile engineers, you've got salespeople. You know,
We've got a shop.
They'll do a mix.
We've got a physical yard or a shop.
Exactly.
So that needs to be
have
manned.
To be in there. So there's not many roles that we actually would recruit for where you are working from home. Like I think in the hire industry, it's difficult to get that privilege.
But construction's had that as a big problem. Because construction on certain major projects, they've had people who are working from home several days a week, and they just come in. And that could be project managers.
Yeah.
And they're coming in and then, just having half a day there and then catching up with their team, and then off they go again. It's like, I don't know what the answer is. I don't want to be an old fuddy-duddy type of person, but I just believe that, I can't work from home. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm of that old school. I don't mind having the odd time where I've had a meeting in the morning, but that's normally when I don't mind working from home if I'm taking a flight out in the afternoon somewhere to see, but I just can't do it. I don't know how people are disciplined enough, and I question how many people are actually disciplined enough to turn off Netflix.
Yeah. See, I can't. Maybe it's just the way I'm wired. I'm a chatterbox, and I like seeing people, meeting people. Yeah. So I can't. If you said, in fact, that would be. I'd find that a punishment. If you said to me, Mark, you got to work at home for the next 2 weeks. Yeah. I'd say, what have I done?
Yeah, we got.
Do you know what I mean? What have I done? That wouldn't be a delight. Yeah. That would be a punishment for me. But that's just me. I'm wired differently.
Well, it'd be interesting to revisit, a little bit in maybe 12 months where you see the difference in the trends. See if people are refusing to take people on hybrid.
I think it's all about, it's about that compatibility. If you really want to work from home, you can't join a business that, can't do that.
But we feel, as businesses, we sometimes feel forced into having that compromise and saying, oh yeah, okay, they can have the Thursday or the Friday off. Yeah,
but do you know why? And this is where it gets strange, and this is something we haven't spoke about yet, is when you look at the competitive market, and you'll know about this, Charlie, because you're placing people. When you look at the competitive market, you've got two aspects. You've got the element of skilled people that are out there, and then you've got the element of the company's requirement, right? So let's say a company requires someone to do this job. The challenge he's got, and we haven't got, especially certainly in the construction industry with the lack of resources we've got, you're advertising a job, and there ain't loads of people. There's loads of people that will apply for it, take a chance, you're right? But there ain't loads of people that are qualified, fully qualified to do it. And those that are fully qualified, by the way, aren't out of work. They're in with other companies. So in the old days, the battle used to be the salary would go up and up and up and up and up, and you was almost rewarded for job hopping, And then I think nowadays people are using different ammunition from their inventory to create better places to work for staff, or make the job more attractive. So instead of paying you, let's say you'd advertise a job at 40 grand a year. What they're saying is now they're saying it's 38 grand a year, 25 days holiday, birthday off, right? And all sorts of weird stuff like that. Not weird, but they're trying to give you an array of benefits instead of just saying it's 50 grand a year, do you want it?
Yeah, because our industry is so full of talented, lack of talented people that we're always having to offer the best, trying to compete with everyone to try and get the best talent in our business. Yeah. We're not training enough. If we had enough people, enough candidates, we wouldn't have to do that, would we?
No. There was a huge change towards the back end of COVID with regards to those benefits. That's where it really exploded. There was so many businesses offering X, Y, and Z that was more than just salary, but both has gone up. Salaries and also all of those perks and incentives, but. It's also about that employee feeling valued as well. And, there is an argument to say that, if someone feels valued in their role because they're getting, certain perks and benefits and stuff like that, then, they're going to perform better, potentially. I mean, I don't know what research there is out there to say that. And stay there, staff attrition, that sort of thing. So, like we say, there's flaws and against. I think, if you can do it, fair play to you as a business. If you can't, then, it's tough luck buster, but it's a shame.
Good. Well, look, I thought we'd got rid of the nicknames, but I've had a few come in. So as they come in, I will read them out. Do you know what I mean? So the first one that was written in by Pete, He said, we got a guy we call him the wicket keeper because he puts the gloves on and stands back. Which I thought was quite funny there. There was one here that says, I don't get it, it says birthday cake because everyone got a piece. I don't know what that means. Maybe she's a stripper, I don't know. Let's have a look at these. Sorry, on my eyes. One where another guy called Pete, maybe there's a few Petes around, they call him seaweed because he floats around all day and stinks like shit. Another one they call a girl called, her name's Rebecca, but they call her Daisy because some days she's in and some days she's ain't. This is one of my favourites. One of our colleagues we call Foreskin because he disappears when things get hard. And there's a girl we work in a canteen called Coleslaw. Because she's 90% cabbage. I think I've got a few more here, but I think that's an older one that tickled me. There's an apprentice that always fucks up, and we call him Shaggy because he says it wasn't me. That's enough of that. Anyway, guys, I think that's been a good conversation today. Hopefully, it hasn't bored the bollocks out off of everybody listening in, but I think it's something that's definitely at the top of people's agendas at the moment, coming in and out.
Impacts a lot of people.
Definitely. So, great. Thanks for, we'll see you all next week.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening.
The opinions expressed within this podcast are solely the individuals and do not reflect the opinions and beliefs of the sponsors or its affiliates. The opinions expressed within this podcast are solely the individuals and do not reflect the opinions and beliefs of the sponsors or its affiliates.